It's a sure thing. Change, change. Expect a miracle change. Watch me change when you change the way you look at things. The things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Now do 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 change. Do 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 change. Do 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 change. Do 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 do.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Spirit Cafe. I'm Barbara Schreiner-Trudell,
And I'm Cheryl Rogers.
and we will begin with our land acknowledgement as we do always. We are honored to work, live, and play on the historical and traditional territory of many Indigenous nations, including the Anishinaabe and Wendat peoples, and more recently, the Mississaugas of the Credit and the Haudenosaunee nations. As we gather from many places on Turtle Island, we as settlers are grateful for the opportunity to meet here, and we thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. We acknowledge the Indigenous stewards of this land. We recognize and deeply appreciate their historic connection to this place. We also recognize the contributions of Métis, Inuit, and other Indigenous people that they have made both in shaping and strengthening our community and our countries. By making this acknowledgement, we strive to be allies and to take part, an active part in reconciliation. We recognize our oneness, we realize our history, and we choose to create a new reality. We are one. Miigwech.
Miigwech. Yes, we are. And today we have a wonderful guest, Nanci Miranda. Am I saying that correctly, Miranda?
Yes.
So for those of you who don't know, Nanci is a top Toronto-based food stylist who has worked in print, film, and commercials for over the last 35 years for major food brands. At the age of 50, she became an artist whose paintings sold from the very beginning. And I tell you, I've seen some of them and they're absolutely beautiful. And at the age of 59, she became a Reiki master with a thriving business. And not only that, she looks like she's 40. And all of this success came from her wake-up calls from the universe and her complete trust in the process. So it's wonderful to have you here, Nanci. Thank you for being our guest today, and just looking so forward to hearing about that trust. It's really about letting go and having faith. Faith and trust to me are the same thing.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you both. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to share about my journey and how I use new thought every second of every day to manifest an incredible life. I'm so blessed. I'm living like a magical life.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
It's absolutely perfect. And it's interesting, given, all of the trials and tribulations we've all been through over, especially the last 3 years, to come to a place of a real deeper connection with our spirituality, with life itself, and the transformation that has caused. I know in your life, it's quite big because you've had COVID. I've had COVID. Cheryl's had COVID. It's like, I think we'd do better to name somebody who hasn't had it. But it's like coming through that and then finding a way to sort of reintegrate ourselves into creating a new reality, because I don't think we can ever go back. People go, I wanted to get back to normal, but no, it's not going to happen. So tell us a little bit about your process and what you've done and how you've gotten to where you are.
Okay, well, I would say, it's beautiful to be interviewed because it makes you look back at your journey and what you've been through. And I can see now that when I was in resistance to life, and pushing through and making things happen on my terms. I was getting illness. I was having lack, uh, difficulty, strain, all of these things. And then when I surrender, when I meditate every day. This is like a fundamental thing for me. This one practice allows me to connect with the one that I am and all is, and just receive messages and act on those instead of what my mind thinks I should be doing or what everybody tells me I should be doing.
Yes.
Because in my process, I have done everything the way no one thinks you should do it. So when
Don't
I
you love that?
Yeah.
I do. I do. When I became an artist, that was through chronic caregiving. I burned out my body. I didn't listen to my body. I just kept pushing through, making choices that didn't serve me or my life. And so it just collapsed and it wouldn't let me move forward. And I'm realizing now that I'm a Reiki master, the process of that the knowledge has grown for me. So when you don't listen, when you push through, a block of energy is created. It plugs these beautiful ways that we flow. And these blocks are what stops life from flowing. And and it isn't like you don't need a magic pill and you don't need uh, you know I don't even know what to say. The truth is, when you face your choices and you choose something new that serves you and life, energy goes back to flowing. And so
Yeah.
when I got the gift of being an artist, it was instantaneous, it was unexpected, and it came in full form. It wasn't like I sort of learned how to sketch or I, could sort of paint a sunflower. It was like that came through.
Well, and what's fascinating about the way your art came through is that it is your abilities have been like sketching and pastels and oils and acrylics and watercolor, portraits, landscapes. Like it
Doesn't
just
matter.
goes on and on. It's like, most artists do one thing and you kind of do which makes it kind of great. But the other thing that's fascinating is you've also been able to earn a great living from your art pretty much immediately.
Immediately.
Talk about that a little bit, how you're flowing with your money as a result of the work that you do.
Absolutely. Well, it helps that I was an entrepreneur all my life since age 15. So my mindset doesn't believe that I can't create what I want. And also, when this gift came through, um, it's so astonishing. The paintings are so full of love from the universe and such a gift that why wouldn't people want it? Why wouldn't people crave it? So I didn't have that starving artist, or I think I after being in guilds, trying all, to find my clan, there isn't one. There's me and the universe. I am like no other, so I don't need to find a group of me. Um,
Love that.
it's like they go to arts, they follow the rules, they just follow what everybody's been doing, and they're trained and spoken to in school that only a handful of artists are famous, only a handful of artists make money. It's a struggle. You have to find a client base. It's like the everyone is my client base. Everyone wants to be
Yeah.
moved by beauty. Everyone um and also there's with the gift, it took me a decade to be really clear about it. I work with spirit. There are artists who are spirits who have passed over and they paint through me. and I listen. And in that decade, I've learned to listen very carefully. There isn't a medium I can't work in. There isn't a brush I can't use. There isn't, I don't have to take a class to learn it. It just flows right through. And I believe, and I know it to be true, that anyone can have this happen. I am not special. It's like God's created me to show everyone, if they open fully, if they live a truthful life, if they never question what happens, they take action, they can have abundance, they can have creativity, and they can be loved. And that's it.
Absolutely. Well, and that's basically what you've said is the mental equivalent you have is, of course, everybody wants my art.
Of course.
Of course they do. And so that's your mental equivalent, where, like you said, people will go to class and stuff, and there's that whole starving artist syndrome. You didn't have that because you weren't in that surrounding or in that setting. And you just had a mental equivalent of, wow, this stuff is great and people are going to want it. And you got to be right. And so it is with your Reiki practice as well. Like that has grown in leaps and bounds also.
Yeah, because I think the same clarity is there that the healing I received that opened my mind and heart to train in this. And I mean, my training it was like bang, 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 bang. It was just like, before I knew it, I was a Reiki master. It wasn't like, and it was meant to be. And for me, I see with every client the healing that takes place, that for whatever reason, my Reiki practice is allowed to flow and help clear things if the person's intention is clear. Right? It isn't me. I'm not doing anything. I'm just a conduit. And if they're ready to drop the block they've created, it flows. And so, yeah, as soon as I put my little sign out, people just kept calling, telling people. And again, I think it's what you're speaking of, that my mind wasn't involved in that it would take 2 years and then maybe I'd have 3 clients, and it's service. So
And I wonder as well, Nanci, and maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like some of these things you're drawn to, and you start with a love and a passion, and there is no real expectation. You just feel led by spirit.
always.
And so you're not getting in the way of yourself.
Yes.
You're just allowing it all to flow, and then it just unfolds so perfectly and in divine order.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right. And it's my trust in the moment, in every moment. And also, in this lifetime, I'm having a riot. I find things fascinating. I find people hilarious. I'll just go like, wow, I'm experiencing people. I'm not interacting with them. Whatever they're doing is fascinating to me, right? And lately, I was sharing with Barbara, my new mantra is, it's not my lane. Because my mind wants to solve everybody's problems and have an opinion about what they should be doing. I just remind myself, just witness their experience. I don't know what anybody should do. And again, this freedom of, then all that attention I had there comes back to me. And I can move life forward again.
And I think that's so key, right? I think that one of the human, I'm going to say errors that we do and we live is we get too involved in things. We get too close to them, and it becomes personal, and it really is not personal. So when you step back and you become that observer, you can experience life, I think, as it's meant to be.
And that doesn't mean there isn't struggle, and that doesn't mean there aren't complications. And we live on this plane, and this is a lesson
And that's what it's about. It's about struggle and complications and duality and discernment, right? It's about discerning what is your lane, what is my lane, what is mine to do. And really, listening to you, I think what all of ours is to do is just to trust and allow the flow, right? Let go and let be and just allow that flow by trusting. I think to mention here is it always sounds easier than it is, and actually it is easy. The whole thing is you have to experience it once or twice, because once you've experienced it, it solidifies your trust in that ability to just let go and allow.
What a great thing to say. Absolutely. And that, I think, too, is what allows me to do it so simply, because I have so many experiences that I can, and it also helps you to catch yourself, because you can see when, whoa, I'm sucking into that again, and I can align myself a lot quicker. And it just, I mean, I'm looking, I can see beyond the computer screen, and I can see that this beautiful snow's falling. And it's like, there's so much beauty everywhere, everywhere, in every second. And I really do spend a lot of time celebrating that. That is what I'm doing most of the time. And it just, take your attention off negativity. It's
a good thing,
right? It just will suck you down the drain, because I don't see things as positive and negative. I see things as experience. It's just the universe is unfolding, and you can choose to view it like you would want to. And even in a really difficult crisis, there is incredible beauty, incredible sharing, feeling, love. It isn't about getting rid of all of those. It's about, when you're in them, stay awake, notice the beauty, participate in them,
Love it.
and don't get stuck. Like when my brother passed away, I'm just realizing this also, this growth in my thought is, I had been blaming COVID for my legs failing me. I thought I had MS, and I'm seeing now that, that virus happens. It's real. Some people don't feel it when they get it. Some people are hospitalized. There's a whole bunch of ways you can be experiencing it. And so my mind went, that's what caused that because a human needs some cause to their effect, right? And
some explanation.
And I realized it just coincided with the loss of my brother, who I hadn't spoken to for 20 years since my mother passed. We were reunited at his diagnosis of palliative cancer. He only lived for a few weeks. Those weeks were incredible, being with him. But when he passed, my parents have been gone for 23 years. But to lose a sibling is a very different thing again. And I wasn't allowing my body to process the grief. I just kept saying, well, that went well.
It's funny how we will discount what we're actually feeling. I think we've been kind of trained to gloss over what is happening. And I think feeling our grief, feeling our disconnect, feeling the challenge that we've just gone through is so essential to actually keeping us healthy and strong. And it allows us to move into a new experience, because once we've moved through our grief or our struggle, whatever it is, then we have an opportunity to show up in a much bigger, brighter way than we had before. And it's so important that we just allow what is to be what is, and then from there know that now I'm creating a new reality. I think part of the challenge and frustration that we're seeing in the world around us right now, all the anger and the disconnect that's happening, comes from the level of fear that people are experiencing as a result of what we went through over the last 3 years. That needs to shift. We need to change our focus. Instead, like you said, don't focus on the problem. Focus on what it is you love. Focus on what you have to be grateful for. Focus on the beauty in the moment rather than the negativity. That
Exactly.
changes everything.
And you know, when you said that, the thought came to me, Miranda, when you said, you know, stop focusing on the negative or the negative thoughts. I thought, stop focusing on other people,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Stop focusing on others and what they're doing and what they're thinking and all that. If we could only just do that, right?
It would be huge.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's just this once you, like, I wish that I could let people know, if we're trained to think that if we focus inward, if we put the attention on ourselves, we're a narcissist, we're, not there for other people. And that, I'm not talking about that kind. I'm talking about, you can only control yourself and your thoughts and your choices, and you can only manifest from here.
And your responses, right?
Yes.
You can only choose your response. And I think that's one of the things that we don't really think about, is that we think that we react to things. Well, in actual fact, we don't have to be reactive. We can really, when we step back and observe, be able to experience it, just like you said, as an experience of life, and not react negative, positive, either way, right? It's more about, oh, okay, this is it. This is what's happening. And just understanding it from that point of view. This is me experiencing life.
Yeah.
And every event of itself is neutral.
Yeah.
It's
Totally.
when we look at it and judge it that we decide it's positive or negative, and as a result we have feelings that then match that. But if we saw everything as neutral, we could deal with it differently.
Or good or bad. And I know that, that some people really struggle with that. Like, to hear that, it's really difficult. When you've really been through some shitty stuff. And I hope I can say that here, but
So.
Yeah, you can.
it's really hard. And I do have a saying that shit becomes fertilizer.
That's good. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, the hardest things I've been through, and I've been through, I went through, from my father's passing, for the next decade, I had 9 people die, and I was their caregiver, and they died, and it was hard, and they were suffering, and it was hard, and there were a lot of choices to make, and it was hard. I'm not saying that life's a bowl of cherries at all, but I'm saying, out of that incredible growth that I went through, and allowing the healing to happen, because the day that I healed, I just said to God, I've had enough. I've slept enough. I've relaxed enough. I've done it enough, and now I'm ready. And like that, I became an artist. Not anything on my bucket list, not something I studied in high school and wished I'd done and didn't do. I'm talking like a download, like boom,
Done.
like a gift, like look at that, like
It's beautiful. It is a gift. It's
a gift.
Beyond words. It's just so beautiful.
Yeah.
And that's what happens when we create that new mental equivalent. It was the same thing when I healed my back.
Yeah.
It was in the moment that I went, hey, wait a minute. If Myrtle Fillmore could do this in the 1800s, surely I can do it today. And I believed that.
Yeah.
Mm.
And then 4 days later, I was perfectly fine and
Mhm.
have been ever since. So you're right. The minute you accept that new mental equivalent, that new idea, immediately the universe flows into it. And there it is. And Reiki, you found as a result of the problem with your legs.
Yeah. I had been going to specialists, getting nowhere, thank God, because it led me to where I should go. Um, they, I had a Reiki treatment, and the woman said to me, your brother's here. And I was like, okay. And she said, I'm in your root chakra and it's completely blocked and it's full of grief. And I was like, no, that was a beautiful death. And we totally got a relationship and a blah, blah, blah. The truth was, I was devastated when he left. And, she said to me, your guides are showing me that you had fallen in love, like the deepest love affair of your life with him. And then he was taken. And this is so cool. She said, is his name Rob? Because he keeps saying Rob to me. And I'm like, nope. Right. And then all of a sudden it hit me. Our agreement on his deathbed. We loved the Dick Van Dyke Show when I was a little girl. And I said to him, when you pass over and you come to me, I want you to say, oh, Rob, the way that Laura would say it to him. And that's what he was saying. And that shifted my reality. It was like, I couldn't believe it. And that led me to going back to her for another treatment. And she said to me, you can learn this, right? Anyone can be a Reiki therapist. It isn't again, like the artist, it isn't something I have. Anyone can work with energy. Anyone can cultivate anything. You can be anything you want to dream of. Anything.
Exactly.
Mhm.
There's no limitation here, except here. Right?
Mm.
And that did it. The next weekend I went to her teacher and said, when can I start learning? And it changed my life. And now I get to witness the change in my clients' lives, where it is so beautiful to see them release things.
Mhm.
And it's such a blessing that through me, the knowledge of what is the block, where is it, what was it, this to me is remarkable and incredible.
And I think too, the messages that you receive really assist people in acknowledging that something's going on that's bigger than we can imagine. Because I'd had Reiki treatments before, and it was like, well, whatever. It didn't do anything for me. And I took Reiki level 1, and it was like, whatever. But when I did Reiki with you, there was 2 things that occurred that shifted my perception of Reiki, but also you as a Reiki master. And that was when you said to me something about a green sweater. And I went, well, I have my dad's green sweater, and he had died, 12 years ago. So I had that sweater hanging in my closet. And, you talked to me about that. And then a few weeks later, this is before my back was healed, I was in my office, or I'd just woken up and I'd gone into my office, and I get a text from Nanci saying, 6:30 in the morning. She didn't get up at 6:30, but anyway, giving your secrets away. She sends me a text and says, put on the green sweater. When she had done the Reiki treatment with me, she said, your dad said, whenever your back is hurting, put on the green sweater, wear his sweater. And so I'd done it a couple of times, but didn't think anything of it. So I get this text at 6:30 in the morning, and I'm like, what is Nanci doing messaging me? I was in a lot of pain that day. So I went in my closet, got my dad's sweater, put it on, felt better immediately. But that's not the point of it. The point is he woke her up
Yeah.
to tell me this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, there's something like we don't understand the levels of consciousness, the multidimensional universe that we're in. We think when somebody dies, they're gone, that's it. But the reality is that we don't die. What dies is this body, and the essence of us transitions into a new reality. And somehow through this practice, you're tapping that.
Yeah,
Yes.
Just
exactly.
like with your artists and with, so for me, it was really profound. So anything you would say to me after that,
Mhm.
it's like, it's got validity because you didn't know I had my dad's sweater.
Wow.
I mean, and who gives somebody a sweater after, someone passes? That's what my stepmom gave me, was my dad's sweater. So
Such
we gotta
wisdom.
go to a commercial break.
Oh, already? Okay.
Rock and roll in here. So you're watching Spirit Cafe, and we will be back in just a moment. Don't go away.
Gosh, I was
Well,
enjoying that music.
Yeah.
So
What a great ad for the center on the lake. Woo! Love
yeah,
when I go there.
me too. Beautiful.
check
One
it
power,
out. It's a
many
fun
parts.
place. Well, we're definitely having some fun here today. So, Nanci, can you share a little bit more about, your ability to just tap in? Because I know we all have that ability. It's just we don't use it, but you obviously are using it at a level that many of us probably have a ways to go before we get there.
Yeah. I just want to take a second and honor how it goes. With my art, I have 6 beautiful artists who work through me, and they communicate full they communicate through imagery, they communicate through words that it's hard to explain. I know them, I don't hear them.
Mhm.
And when I sit, uh, how they used to, I didn't have control over them for a long time. And they would call to me. One day I was washing my hands in the washroom, and I have a shaman who paints through me, and he wanted me to paint energy balls. So he had me notice the the soap bubbles in the sink. And this is, it's like when they speak, I'm in meditation. And I'm not really sure how it works. I don't know much other than that it is. It just is that way.
That's all you need to know.
Yeah. And so there isn't with them, there isn't a practice that I do to open the channel, but I definitely set boundaries. Because the day of the bubbles was, I couldn't get away from the bubbles. Go down, there's messages, go down the hall, make more soap, keep doing it. It just drove me crazy. And so I thought, well, I don't want to live like that. I don't want to be at the beck and call of energy. I'm living a life here. These are my hands. This is, and through some support from Barbara, I'm the guy who buys the paint and the canvas and sits down and takes my time. And I don't know where they are and I don't know what they do other than paint through me. So I was able to set these boundaries where when my meditative commitment is when they see me sit in my chair, in my studio, at my easel, send me what you need me to paint. And there will be days where I will want to work on a certain one, but that's not what's happening. And the energy just does not flow if I try to control it. And it's taken, like I say, 10 years to get used to this. And then with my Reiki, there is a practice of making my Reiki commitments, doing my prayer, allowing the energy to open. And then during Reiki, there are different guides so that I can hear them. They call to me. The other day in a treatment, they were calling out names to me. Now, these things mean nothing to me. I have no attachment to them. I never think about them. As soon as this treatment's over, that's that person's lane. They're off to do what they're going to do. But during the treatment, I'm spoken to. I have visions like the green sweater, and I'm learning to practice in a meditation to allow that ability to build, and that's what I can do to make it. And I feel that we can all do that. We just don't have the channels open. Or when I was younger. Now that I do this for a living in 2 areas of my life, I'm aware that I have always had my channels open. But as a teenager and as a child, I thought I was nuts. When a teenager hears voices, it's not good, right? Leads to some disease. So I would never share with people. Then, on the morning of my father's funeral, while I was sitting on my sofa, his energy came and held my hand. There was a hand holding my hand. It wasn't me hoping a hand would hold my hand. And I knew it was him. Then there was a time my mother came and all I could smell was her perfume. Well, none of her stuff's in my house. I don't smell her perfume. But it's, learning to accept that this is so, that this is real, the more that I allow that and keep my boundaries, because I am in a human body and it can get affected when I don't honor my limitations. I can't.
That's such an important thing, Nanci. And I think it's something all of us have to remember is that, we're spiritual beings, but we're also human beings. And the two, while we're here on earth, the two must work together harmoniously. So sort of discounting one for the other is not going to serve our highest potential. It's integrating the two, honoring the two. So good for you, because you've created that balance for yourself, which is fantastic.
Absolutely.
And it's a daily choice.
And that's a daily choice. Not daily work, daily choice.
No, it's a choice.
Choices.
Yeah. And you're such a wonderful example of that. I think, when I listen to you, what you've allowed yourself to do is be open, be curious, without fear attached. Maybe younger, yes, you kept it to yourself because of what society puts on us, right? Mental illness and all these other things. If you hear voices, or you're not like everybody else, or whatever the case may be, right? But you have really allowed yourself to not attach fear to it, to be curious, to allow it to unfold as it does, as it should. And it's funny I'm saying this, because in my life I've said, okay, give me a sign, and then I laugh at myself, because I think if you did, I'd probably poop myself. Right? So
Yeah.
it's getting to that place, like, okay, I'm ready to listen, I'm ready to be curious, I'm ready to hear, to see, all those kind of things. And so, like Barbara says, it's a human and a spiritual experience, and the human has to be prepared, has to be ready.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's, like Monday, I hear talking to me, and Wednesday I've got it all together. It's a daily commitment.
Mhm.
And I also wanted to just go back to when I was sharing about the moment that I stated to God that I was really over being sick. That was not done as a command. That was not done in anger or resentment or enough is enough. Screw this. You better change it, or, I'm not going to believe in you anymore.
Mhm.
It was done in pure surrender. I had done all the experiencing I could do in that one. There was nothing more I could get out of it.
Mhm.
And I was ready for a new one. I had no idea the new one was going to be so incredible. I just thought maybe I'd be able to walk from my kitchen to my living room without falling asleep. That was the real goal. Because that's how difficult that health situation was.
Yeah.
But to have that awareness, even, right? To have the awareness, I'm ready, I've had this experience, I'm ready to move on to something else.
Yeah. And that comes from, I didn't waste my time.
Mm-hmm.
While I was having a year of nothing, because I couldn't move, I was meditating, I was reading, I was exploring. I
Mm-hmm.
was, don't get me wrong, I also read 50 Shades of Grey.
Mm-hmm.
I
Well,
couldn't do anything with it, but
Well, that was stimulating.
like it
and
wasn't,
that's an important part of the human side as well, right?
Yeah, it is.
but like I was reading Deepak and other Eckhart and stuff, but at the same time, I was noticing, like, wow, how'd you get here? What were you choosing that this happened? Well, and noticing in my daily moments, and I do this continuously, what causes it to inflame?
Mm-hmm.
What did I just do? What did I just say? What did I just think? What interaction did I block?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is the most important part of my practice, that
Mm-hmm.
allows life to flow abundantly.
Mm-hmm.
You
So
know,
you're living life consciously and creating consciously by just having the awareness, where most of us, until we reach that point, don't realize that we are creating our lives, but we're doing it unconsciously or subconsciously.
exactly.
Because, as we know, every thought, every word, every deed, it's all energy at a different level. It's a frequency, and it's going to create whether we're aware of it or not.
Yeah.
Well,
And
that's
and
good.
to have that self-awareness and willingness to say, because your mind can go, oh, you got it together. What. I don't believe that junk. It's
Mhm.
like you have to be willing to say to yourself, look, what's not working?
Mhm.
What have I created and continually perpetuate that is not working? And then, so what do I want to do about it?
Mhm.
And it isn't also, isn't, don't want to speak like that. Another practice that I do is take action. You have to change your thinking and change your actions. You have
Mhm.
to choose new people and choose new experiences.
Mhm.
Someone's not coming to knock at the door
Mhm.
with your money.
Yeah.
They're
Mhm.
Treat
not
and
going to
move your
come
feet.
to your door to date you, right? When you're longing for these things or your health, the doctor's not coming to the door, the hospital's not sending an ambulance, whatever you believe you need.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, you really have to be willing to get your shit together and move.
Right.
That's
I
Yeah.
one
hope
of
I didn't
the,
say shit.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no problem. Cheryl's already broke that
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you already
ceiling,
did.
so we're good. Um, but it's one of the sayings in CSL is treat and move your feet. And, treatment is what we say for affirmative prayer. So treat and move your feet. Yeah, it's one thing to go, I want something different. It's another thing
Mhm.
to actually take the action, to
Mhm.
take those steps forward, to open yourself up to that new reality, which,
Mhm.
of course, it's up to us, right?
Mhm.
Everything in life is coming out of our own thoughts.
Mhm.
And sometimes we think, well, I didn't say anything. But meanwhile, in our mind, we're judging, criticizing, doubting, fearing. And so that's the place where the correction has to happen. And
Mhm.
that's the
Mhm.
work you've done, which has brought you to such an exciting place.
Yeah.
And
One
that's
of the things,
meditation and journaling, right? Brilliant ways to hear what you're thinking,
yeah.
Journaling, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Stream of consciousness. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
And in
Yeah.
meditation, it's not about being silent. It's about, whoa, where did that thought come from? Oh man, I think that.
Yeah.
Because the
Yeah.
tapes are running whether you like it or not,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah,
Cheryl.
exactly. And sometimes in meditation, talking about that, I find it's important to write down a thought and then go back into it. Not like I need to just, be like that and then I'll forget the thought when I'm done, kind of thing. But write that down and then go back to it. And I'm very aware that my thoughts are all over the place. And then when I become aware of it, I bring myself back into a focus on my breathing, because that's the best way for me to do that, and then they run off at a tangent again, and it's like, oh, off I go again, let's breathe. So people, I think a lot of people think they can't meditate, or
Yeah.
they don't do it because they think of that they think all the time, and honestly, I wouldn't let that stop me. It's a matter of having the awareness and then just bringing back your attention to breathing. And really what you're doing is you are creating the space, you are opening yourself to connection with source, eventually. And like you said, it takes time. It doesn't happen for some people. It might happen
Yeah,
overnight,
yeah.
and that's okay. But for many of us, it doesn't, and that's okay too.
Well,
But
we're
it doesn't mean it's
interrupting.
not working.
Yeah, we're interrupting years of programming.
Yeah.
What we
Exactly.
received. We were taught that the world out here is what's real, and what's happening uh, behind the scenes, that's illusion, but it's actually the other way around. And coming
Exactly.
to that understanding really makes a big difference.
Yeah.
We start to look at the world and go, this world is a manifestation of an idea held in mind by the collective consciousness of humanity. And
Right.
in order to shift it and change it, we all need to think in a new way. And of course, the only place we can think is within ourselves.
Mhm.
It's like Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. And so we have to make the change right here and then live that change, right?
Mhm.
And that's the journey. And that's, that's the challenge as well, is if we're unconscious about what we're thinking. And meditation is such a great practice.
Mhm.
People think they know what it is and then resist it because, well, my mind keeps wandering. Well, of course it's going to wander until you train it otherwise. That's what it's
Mhm.
going to do. And even once trained, it will still go back to wandering some days.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's a giant computer. It's full of
Yeah.
interesting things, right?
You know, some of the things that I really enjoy doing that really does take my mind off things, and it's a form of meditation for me, is doing a puzzle, or, you know, coloring in, you know, these beautiful adult coloring in books, things like that. That's when I really am able to put focus on that and nothing else. And so there's no thought other than, you know, does this piece fit here, or coloring in the lines kind of thing, right? Which is, I think, also a good practice, just to still the mind.
Yeah.
I use knitting for the same
Yeah.
thing, right?
Yeah.
It takes my attention off. It gives me something to do, but it's very meditative in the fact that it just reduces my reality to that now moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something else I'd love to share that I've been really examining lately and noticing that, like a sound wave, life, this is how it's moving all the time. And so I've noticed how there will be the start of an idea of energy of something, and then it's building and it's creating abundance and it's coming around like a roller coaster, and then it's going to do this and it's going to go quiet. And those, I used to see them as obstacles, and now I see that dip as opportunity, self-reflection. Has this worked like I wanted? Is it still something I'm desiring?
Yeah.
What else can I put my attention on to build it? And I can see that by doing this practice, then it moves back up. And when I wasn't putting my attention as an opportunity, I kept blocking myself. I couldn't move forward. Things were repeating, becoming dead feeling, and my energy wasn't moving. And so I wanted to share that with people listening, because it's like the beauty of science, where I wish we were taught this stuff in school. Where, you know, where we had this kind of discussion when we're children, and we're, you know, like, how many people go like, man, my life, it just won't move ahead. And it's like, pay attention to where you are. And if you fully experience it, it will move, it has to move, but you've blocked it and it's locked. You know, and you can change it in a second, but it's believing that it can change.
Our resistance to what is keeps it in place.
And recognizing, I use an analogy as well, and I love that visual, because to me that's truth, what you just shared. But I also use the visual of the ebb and flow of life, right? I mean, everything in life is an ebb and a flow. And so, you know, there's time for that quiet period, or reflection, contemplation, whatever it is. And then there's that flow where there's just so much energy and so much happening and so much potential and all that kind of thing. And then there's a time to just be quiet again.
Exactly.
Well, it's kind of like our seasons, right? Like in spring, things are growing, but in winter, it appears dead. But it's not. It's just below the surface, resting. And our life has that same process.
And it's necessary.
It is necessary.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Balance.
I love this conversation. My goodness. It is just so inspiring. It just, you know, it's interesting because it makes me think about, and I'm really, I don't want to use that word guilty, but I'm guilty of this. Is, you know, knowing it and having experienced it, and yet for some reason not always practicing it. And I'm, you know, trying to wrap my head around that one. So yeah, definitely a work in progress, as we all are. And some have just moved further along that energy frequency, and some are in the process of getting there still. And those that are there have further to go. And it's just never ending, right? We're infinite, and source is infinite.
And we're on a journey, right? And this journey doesn't have a destination.
No.
It's only about being in
Yeah.
the moment. That's
Exactly. And that's key.
it.
That's what we've got to really, I believe, what we've really got to nail down is being in the moment, in the now, looking at the beautiful snow outside and appreciating it. It's funny. I wasn't able to do that until now because my grandchildren are just wanting to go skiing and playing in the snow. So for the first time, I'm like, okay, let it snow.
Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow.
you know so it's just so funny because my husband's going, oh no, and I'm saying yes because they want to go skiing on Saturday.
That's so cool.
Well, I remember my daughter when she was little and that first snowfall, and she runs to the window, La neige, la neige, la neige. So excited. Couldn't wait to get outside and play in it and, do whatever.
Mhm.
Well, we're getting down to our last couple of minutes. So, final words. What would you like to leave people with in these last couple moments?
I'm going to go first because you guys always have such wisdom at the end. So
You.
for me, what I would say to listeners is, you know, just recognize where you're at and acknowledge it. And, I think there's no judgment, there's no blame, there's no shame, but just becoming aware of that, becoming aware of where you're at and where you're wanting to be. For me, that's a wonderful start, and it's a continuation of a path that we're already on.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Beautiful.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Nancy, what about you? Final word.
Yeah, I would like for everyone to know that everything is possible. Dream bigger than you can dream. Trust yourself, trust the universe, and know that the pace you're moving at is the vibration you're living in.
Love that.
Change your vibration.
Yeah.
Find a way to do it, and it probably won't be the way I did it because there's only one me. So
Yeah.
pick a way to do it and take your attention off everyone else and put it on yourself and grow your life experience.
I love
Beautiful.
that. I love that.
Mhm.
And that's so perfect because each one of us is unique and special. Each one of us are required in order for the universe to flow in the manner in which it is and to the direction that it's going. And I think each one of us brings a light and a possibility with us that is unique to us. And when we recognize that all of us are unique and special, all 8 billion people on the planet are necessary, I think that changes things a little bit too. So for me, I just want everyone to know that you are created perfect, whole, and complete, that there's nothing about you that is broken or flawed. Your behavior might be, but you are fine. In the moment that you acknowledge that, love who you are, live from your authentic place, right? Find who you
Mhm.
are and live that. Forget what your friends are telling you, forget what your parents told you when you were little. They didn't know you. They didn't live inside your head, so they didn't know your true potential and possibility. Because in the moment that we shift that, all of a sudden life gets so much easier. And the truth is, living authentically in the long run is way easier than the masks that we've been wearing as we try to fit in. So, my statement to you is stand out
Ah, love
and
it.
forget the fitting in crap because that's just bullshit.
Love it. Love it. A lot of that stuff around here today.
Well, thank you, Nancy, for being here today. That's
Oh,
been
my pleasure. This
remarkable.
was so much
And
fun.
Cheryl, as always, my dear sister, I just love doing this with you. I'm going to miss you. Cheryl's going to be going on vacation.
Oh, are you going
So
to get
we're
to
not,
be warm?
she's
I
going someplace
am. I
warm.
am. Yes.
Yeah, so we won't have you for 3 weeks, but we will have another Cheryl because, we got to maintain our name. Cheryl Driscoll is joining us for the next 3 weeks as my co-host, and so really excited about that. So see you all very soon.
Bye-bye. Thank you so
Take
much.
care, everyone. Bye. Thank you for joining.
It's a sure thing. Change. Expect a miracle change. Watch me change when you change the way you look at things.